This is Johnny with Tigerbomb MMA, and today I'm going to go over UFC 325, Volkanovski versus Lopes 2. Total of 14 bouts taking place in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, where the tax rate is high and the cards are very minimal. We actually have two cards. We have the finale to the road to the UFC and also the Volkanovski versus Lopes 2 card. And there's some good and some bad. There are some fights that are going to be kind of hard to break down because of the level of, I guess, competitors that we have. Primarily when it comes to like the road to the UFC, there's a couple good guys there and some that are like, and same with the card itself. There's a couple on here that are just going to be kind of difficult to gauge. But when you're looking at it from the money line perspective and the prop perspective, you might be able to try to find some value there. When it comes to this main event, there's a reason why Sean Strickland and Fluffy Hernandez didn't want to fight on this card. It would have made it a better card, but alas, they have their own fight night in Houston, which me and a Hebrew friend of mine might be going together, and boy, do I want to talk about that when it comes to it. But let me get started with this card itself, with the first fight of the night being Namzrai Barbayar versus Aaron Toe. Toes him up. Toe is plus 105, fighting out of New Zealand, that Australia region, versus the Mongolian in the Steppe Warrior. Now, this is a fight for the finale of the tournament for the 125 division, and it's going to be a bloodbath, I believe. It's either going to be a quick fight where one guy gets knocked out, or considering this is Aaron Toe. And if you don't know who Aaron Toe is, that is Dan Hooker's protege. Fights very similar to Dan Hooker, and I can't wait to talk about Dan Hooker. Actually, I had some fan mail with a joke written in it that I have to read once I actually get to it. But with Aaron Toe, he does fight a lot like Dan Hooker. He's got that unbreakable fighting spirit, and also not the most technically gifted. Now, with Barbayar, I think he's better than Toe everywhere. I think the striking can match Toe. Toe is very defensively irresponsible. He, takes one to give one, which again, not very good. But Barbayar has very good knockout power, very good grappling. He actually beat a guy in Agulali in the road to the UFC that I thought was going to do a lot better and actually get through Barbayar, but it doesn't happen that way. When this guy gets hurt and he starts backing up, he's still dangerous. He can clip you. He has that kind of power. And logically, man, the way I frame it is, this is a coin flip fight because, look, despite the fact that Aaron Toe, in my opinion, I don't want to be mean, but he kind of sucks. But the thing is, you don't necessarily need to be the better fighter to win when it comes to Aaron Toe. This guy is dropping down from 135 to 125. He's been doing well. He's got strength. He's not the speediest guy. He's not the best at defensively, but the guy will march you down. He has an intimidating face tattoo, and the guy looks terrifying, like legit. This is what Kai Kara France thinks he looks like when he does that ugly shit. This guy's legit. This guy, when he says he's a warrior, this guy fights like that. Not the best gifted, but he'll go after you. Now, that's what makes it a bit intriguing. Logically, minus 135 on Barbayar seems like a gift because he is the better fighter. He can knock out Toe. The issue that I have with this fight, why it's so difficult for me to break it down, and why I'm intrigued as shit that this is the first fight of the night. Like, it has to be because it's the lowest weight class of Road to UFC, but it also might be one of the better fights of the card. These two guys are going to go at it. Now, is Aaron Toe, who's a pressure-heavy fighter, going to have a lot of success kind of exhausting Barbayar with that pressure, or is Barbayar just going to be, screw it, I'm going to land my counters on you and try to take you down? With Aaron Toe, the issue is you can try to hold him down, but if he's not incredibly gassed, he will continue to move forward. Now, he did get hurt in his last fight against Xiao Yin. Xiao Yin, not necessarily a bum, but Aaron Toe won that fight by landing the harder shots, dropping him a few times, and just moving forward, even though he was kind of getting countered pretty effectively. So it's really going to depend on what the judges want. With this kind of being the hometown advantage, I'm leaning like the plus 105 or plus money on Toe isn't bad. Yeah, I'll tell you, if Barbayar was the dog here, I'd be all over that because I think he is technically, stylistically the better fighter and should win, I would say, with a margin of error at least 70% of the time, but that 30% of the time is when Aaron Toe is just eating these punches, and Barbayar is like, what the fuck do I do to get this guy off of me? So I'm intrigued by it. Pure pick, I got to go with the guy who I think is better, and Barbayar by a decision. Trust me when I say I think he can knock out Toe and finish him in general, like submit him. But there's an X factor with Toe, which makes it a little like I want to be cautious with what I say because I don't want to call him a complete bum. That's not the case with him. Like, he has potential. He's 32. You know, it's not the best for a flyweight, but there's star potential there. And I think that's what the UFC wants from this kid, because you can put him in there. He'll have some great epic fights. He can go on a, 5-fight losing streak like another guy we'll talk about on this card, yet he'll still be in the UFC because he's marketable. He has that, like, je ne sais quoi, if you will. So I think the UFC are kind of wanting to get Toe the victory. So there's been some talks with the last card about possible fuckery with the scorecards. I'm just saying, maybe stay away, just enjoy it. If this is a straight up fist fight where the better guy wins, I think the better man is going to be Barbayar. But I'm again a little hesitant in this one, so I'm going to say Barbayar by decision hesitantly, but we'll go on. Next bout, a fight I feel a little bit more confident in. We've got I have trouble with his name, but Sulangrangbo. No, Sulangrangbo. Damn it, Sulangrangbo versus Lawrence Liu. Rambo, let's just call him Rambo. It's better for me when it's spaced apart, but when it's all together, it screws me up. He's minus 225 over Lawrence Liu. He's a New Zealand guy, trains out of City Kickboxing as well, and he is plus 170 now with Rangbo over here. I think this kid could potentially be the next incarnation of, you know how we have Conor clones, like Mauricio Hufi, who we'll talk about, is a Conor clone. That fucking Japanese kid from the Contender Series not so long ago, left-handed guy, moved well, another Conor clone. And we had that Chinese Conor, which Sumadarji, also kind of a Conor clone. I think this guy might be the best of them all when it comes to the Conor clones. This guy moves very well, very good striker. Grappling has improved. This guy is dynamic. He's fast, hits hard. He's everything really that Lawrence Liu isn't. Lawrence Liu is similar to almost every single guy in the City Kickboxing kind of style. Very patient. He finds his path to victory, whether it be a stiff jab. Decent striker. The thing is, I think he can get caught fairly early. I think his chin might be a little suspect, but his recovery as well. He's been dropped a few times in the road to the UFC. And to me, he seems like he's going to be the guy with the better game plan, but that game plan is probably not going to work out if Rangbo is as fast as he is and able to defend the takedowns as well as he's been doing. No, he's 20 years old. There's still the wealth of experience on Lawrence Liu's side, not only with age, and I don't even want to say with the fighting, because he's only 7-1 compared to the 10-3 of Rambo. The issue is that he has a wealth of experience behind him with his camps, and that's going to be a bit difficult to kind of get over if you're on the Rambo side, because if Lawrence Liu just wants to make it a boring-ass fight and try to clinch with him, how is Rangbo going to try to adjust to that? I think the way he's going to adjust to that is by trying to knock this kid out early and often in the first round, which I am going to predict that's going to happen. I do think that he is going to knock out Lawrence Liu within the first 2 rounds. I'm going to say round number 1. I think Lawrence Liu is more than capable of getting knocked out. I don't think he presents anything that Rangbo hasn't seen before, other than potentially mixing things up with those takedowns. But again, with a guy that dynamic on the feet, that's exactly what people are trying to do to him constantly. So on the feet, I do expect it to be just the speed. And when I say this guy is fast, like, he throws a lead uppercut to the body that is beautiful. And if he starts like mixing that in and just being quick, maybe faking a jab and then coming with that uppercut, not to the body but to the chin, I think he can crack Lawrence Liu and knock him out and just get rid of him, because I know some people that have been betting against him and he just keeps winning, which there's another guy on here as well that kind of fights that way. He just doesn't go away like a cockroach. But with Lawrence Liu, I just don't think he is quite UFC ready. I don't think he's marketable for the UFC. Doesn't fight as exciting as Grambo. So give me Sulangrangbo to win first round knockout. Next bout, we've got a protege of the main eventer here in Sebastian Szalay, protege of Volk. And let me tell you, this guy fights a lot like Volk, not to the extent that like he's going to be a world champion or incredible, defense when it comes to submissions, but this guy is just very clever as to his shot selection. He's very active on the feet, good feints, and against Kichiro Nakamura, Nakamura's solid. I just don't see anything too spectacular when it comes to him. I'm not necessarily impressed by this kid. He's 7-1. The odds are very close. -120 for Szalay. Comeback on Nakamura is -105. Nakamura in his last fight, he did beat Kylie Wen, who's a good fighter. Just you look at his record, he's not anything too particularly special. He's just like a thick chin Cody Garbrandt ripoff. I just wasn't truly impressed with Nakamura. I think his striking's good. I think it's going to be a very honest striking matchup. But when it comes to the overall game, I think Szalay is a little bit better. I think he can mix things better. I think his striking's just a little bit more technical and just more consistent with the striking, where it's going to be an honest back and forth kind of fight. They're both going to be throwing punches at each other. I think the better of the punches and the output and the defining moments are going to be for Szalay, meaning that these two throw punches at each other. Szalay throws a low kick followed by a high kick that solidifies that exchange going to Szalay, that kind of a fight. So give me Szalay to win this one by a decision. I just think he is, I don't want to say he's a whole step above Nakamura. I think he's just like an iota above Nakamura. And I think with the game planning and the coaching of Volk and him having a similar style, I think he's just going to have a lot of success using those feints on the outside, mixing things up with the low kicks, and then trying to land those knockout punches that may or may not win via knockout, that is, but I expect him just to kind of land the better, more significant strikes to win this fight by a decision. Next bout, we've got a guy that, and this fight has the possibility to be the most shit fight on the card based on how these guys fight, or probably an all-out war based on how these guys fight. Donmar Fan, the Street Buddha, he is 8-2, -180. He's the favorite here against Sang Kim, aka Frogman, which I fucking love Frogman. Like, dude's awesome. He's a fucking literally what do you call those? A Navy SEAL from Korea, And the way he fights is showing that toughness. But don't get it twisted. Like, this guy is a grappler. From what I recall from my notes, he should be, let's see here. Where is he at? Yeah, he is a Stungung Kim protege. And this guy pushes a nasty pace. Neither of these guys are incredibly fast at all. These guys are really slow. Thus, they're both slow grapplers that are going to try to manipulate each other on the ground. Fan is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, or at least, I believe, a brown belt. Brown or black belt. Let me double check. Brown belt. He's very good on the ground. He's not particularly known to get a finish the whole percentage of the time, but he's very good. The issue with him, though, is that he gives up position sometimes a bit too much, and whether that's part of the strategy to try to, give up his back to get top position while a guy falls off, I'm not a big fan of it. Like, can he get a submission here? Sure, but against Kim, they are very similar. I will say, though, I think this is a very good opportunity for Kim. With Fan, his only two losses, he's basically 8 and Sallkild. He's only lost to Quillen Sallkild twice by rear naked choke. And when you look at those fights, you see how good he is. He's always instantly trying to get a takedown. Not much of a striker, but he's very good at getting takedowns deceptively, meaning that, he'll take your back, he'll drag you to the ground. Nothing too collegiate, if you will, when it comes to the wrestling. He just is very opportunistic at taking the back and trying to keep you there. It's very similar to Kim, but with Kim, he will go out there and try to strangle you, but before he does that, he will try to go out there and try to bang with you. This guy's not bad. I just think that they're both really, really slow, and if this does become a battle where it hits the mat, it could very well be that Fan just takes the back and wins one round. He may lose the second, but it all will come down to that third round. And with Fan being so slow and sometimes he gasses himself out, the thing is he can still grapple when he's tired, and he's very good at it. But I just think that with Kim, Look, man, he's got a wealth of experience. He's lost a ton on the amateur scene, and he's been beaten up. And given a guy like Stun Gun Kim being the guy who's training you, that's a good guy to have when there's going to be a dude just trying to take you down and doesn't really offer much when it comes to the striking. With Kim, he may not be the most explosive guy. I just think his toughness is going to get him through this fight. I think he may get taken down, but I think his cardio is going to be the leading factor here. If he doesn't get finished early, he's going to come out here, attack the body of Fan. He's going to be throwing or attempting shitty takedowns. He's going to get reversed. And at that point, I think Fan's going to be too tired to do much. So I think Kim can win this fight via a very gritty back and forth decision or possibly later finish. It's hard to finish Fan. Like, Sallkild had to trick this kid because he would put him in submissions and it was just difficult to finish him, but he would just kind of pop him and then just sneak the rear naked choke in a few times. I don't think Kim is as good as Sallkild at getting those subs, but he can break it down. And I've seen his toughness in his last fight. He got kicked to the body pretty badly, and he just ate it and he moved forward. Never really grimaced. He kind of gave it away with the body, but dude seems tough as shit. And I'm intrigued by it, but this could also very well be a fight where both these guys hit the ground. They're just kind of rolling around, and it's going to be really hard to interpret who's winning because, the majority of the people don't know how to score jiu-jitsu. But in a fight like this, it could be either man's game. Give me the underdog here in Kim. Not uber confident in it because I do value Fan's jiu-jitsu. I think he's very good, but I just don't quite value his toughness / his endurance when it comes to this kind of fight. Against a frogman, fucking forget about it. Next on, we've got featherweight bout, the end of the UFC, road to UFC. We've got YiZha versus Khan Ofli. Plus 160 for Ofli, come back on Jha, minus 210. Excuse me. This one's tough because Ofli is often undervalued. I've always thought he was like a decent fighter. I actually picked him to beat Marion Santos. I thought he was going to have a lot more success when it came to the jiu-jitsu, but he wasn't able to get him down. And normally, if he can't get you down or have any success with the jiu-jitsu, he's fine. But he's a bit of a Sean Brady, if you will. Like, very good grappler, very good jiu-jitsu, but if he can't do anything with it, he's there to just get his head punted off. He did get a gift in Ricardo Ramos, essentially giving him the back and letting him choke him out. But take that as you will. With Ramos, I'm not necessarily calling that a fluke. I think Ramos is consistent at his inconsistency. So it's very hard to gauge how good Khan Ofli is at this level. With YiZha, very good grappler himself. He's going to have the significant striking advantage. I think he's going to have more power, different weapons with the kicks and such. Very good off of his back. The thing is, a guy like Ofli, he's not going to catch him with an armbar or anything like that. He very well could. I think if YiZha wins this fight, it's going to be on the striking. The thing is, he's not the best at stuffing takedowns. Now, you look at his 2 fights in the UFC, he gets Gabriel Santos, gets his head punted off by him, survives, and he showed his toughness there. So I think he's going to have him beat with the toughness. But then they give him Weston Wilson, and he goes out there and knocks him out. Now he's a 2-1 favorite over a decent enough guy who's fought and beaten better competition, let's just say. He didn't fight better competition. I think Khan Ofli is, he fought Myron Santos, he fought Ricardo Ramos and Naimov. Those are way better fighters than Weston Wilson. Now, Gabriel Santos, I think, is better than all 3 of them. The issue here is, how is that going to translate in the fight between these 2 guys? One guy trying to get it to the ground, the other guy trying to keep it on the feet, but comfortable off of his back. I don't think YiZha is going to get submitted. I think YiZha is going to have to come out here and try to knock him out. Now, it's a bit of a coin flip. It's like a 50-50 in my eyes. So give me YiZha to kind of pull this one out of his ass via decision. I think he's got the path to victory of just keeping it on the feet, staying long. He is going to be the longer guy here when it comes to the kicking game. But Khan, his game is clear, and that is taking the back, controlling. So there is value with Khan Ofli. The plus 160 is very tempting. It's just, man, I can't gauge where he's at by essentially being gifted a rear naked choke by Ricardo Ramos. I can guarantee you YiZha's not going to give him that. And he's going to be more active off of his back if he does get taken down, threatening leg locks and such. So I'm intrigued by it. I've always been a fan of YiZha back when he got screwed over by the Korean Tiger and he got screwed out of that split decision. I thought he beat him. Not the best win, but I thought he beat him. And then after he won Road to UFC last time, they gave him Gabriel Santos, a guy who is the best at the time 0-2 fighter in the UFC, and he got his ass beat by him, so it's really difficult to gauge him. So give me YiZha via decision. Not a big fan of this pick, just because it's so up in the air. All right, we've got the prelim opener here. We've got Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliott. Jonathan Micallef minus 145, come back on Elliott plus 115. This fight's been booked and rebooked, and my initial opinion hasn't changed. I think Micallef, he's goofy. He's not the most athletic, but he throws and spams those kicks, and he's very good off of his back. And he's a decent fighter. He's a decent Australian fighter. As for Oban Elliott, I've had my ups and downs with Elliott. I have my issues with him because he's not particularly good either, but he is a pretty good counter wrestler and wrestler himself. Like, his striking's not too bad, decent boxer, pretty tough. Not the toughest, but pretty tough. And he's kind of exceeded expectations at a certain point. And when I saw him lose to Ko, which I had a sneaking suspicion Ko was going to beat him because Ko's a very solid fighter, I just thought he was going to have a lot more success with the grappling and the counter grappling, and he just kind of got dominated there. I think Micallef on the feet, he can be a bit slow. It's going to be Oban Elliott trying to get it to the ground. I just think with Micallef that the head kicking game, the kicking game in general, those fucking kicks are hard. I think it's going to be really difficult for Elliott to get on the inside and try to take him down there, where he might potentially get caught in some submission attempts. Maybe not necessarily get caught in them officially, but enough for him to be like, oh shit, there's going to be trouble here. So I am leaning on the Micallef side. I don't, again, think Micallef's all that great. I think there's a path to victory for Oban Elliott, but it's going to take relentless grappling and maintaining top control on a guy with a pretty decent guard. Again, I don't think it's going to be like anything Charles Oliveira style, but I think Micallef can do enough off of his back to, get the victory here. So give me Micallef to win this one by a decision, mainly using those outside long-range weapons, and then on the inside kind of clinching with them as well and trying to maintain that position, try to get his own takedowns to get it to the ground and maybe work his submission game. I just think the more dangerous of the two is going to be Micallef in this fight. And again, him having the home crowd advantage, more than likely they're going to give him the victory. Moving on here. We've got an interesting bout here with Jacob Malkoun and Torres Finney. The Punisher, or I call him the Mini Fridge, versus Mamba, Jacob Malkoun. Malkoun minus 150, come back on. Finney is plus 125. Now, this is an intriguing matchup because Finney, 11-0. Buyer's remorse is all I can say for the UFC. His last fight was an absolute dud against Valentin, where he essentially lost 30-27 on one of the judges' scorecards in a fight that he essentially dominated against the cage. And when I say dominated, I mean he kept him there while he got punched in the mouth. It was not the best look, but to be fair, that's a big dude, a way bigger dude than Finney. He's 5'8". And you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And generally, we've seen that from Finney. Guys that are much taller and they're like 6'1", 6'2" area. God, he even fought fucking Battle Giraffe, who's like, what? How tall is he? 6'3". He's a huge dude, and he beat him. He's fighting next. He's going to try to wrestle against Malkoun, another wrestler, black belt in jiu-jitsu. Solid wrestling. His takedown defense isn't considered the best, but he's fought very good competition. Now, this isn't a matchup where I think Finney is going to come out here and try to wrestle with Malkoun. Quite on the contrary, Finney has power. He has nasty power. He's an athletic freak. He's going to be himself hard to take down, but if he does get taken down, I do think Malkoun's going to be able to at least keep him there to fatigue him as the fight goes on. We saw him get fatigued his last fight, and was barely holding on. I think Finney's going to come out here and not try to wrestle. I think he's going to try to counter-wrestle against Malkoun and try to knock him the fuck out. We've seen Malkoun get knocked out by another athletic wrestler in, God rest his soul, poor Phil Hawes. in a fight that I thought Malkoun had more than enough chances to beat him, because at the time, Phil Hawes was known for two things: being quite possibly the greatest fighter of all time, with also the shittiest chin of all time. So there's a chance that Malkoun can just avoid Hawes for a bit, and then he can maybe land some shots because he has a boxing background himself. And then, no, he got knocked the fuck out against the cage. Against Finney, Finney has to be aggressive, move forward, and land that ham hock of a right hand that he has. If you've ever seen him fight and land that punch, there's you go on his Instagram just for the quickest route, you can see him landing that right hand on somebody and just knocking him the shit out. That's what got him his final appearance on the Ultimate Fighter, or not the Ultimate Fighter, but on the Contender Series where he got the contract. So for Finney, I'm looking forward for him to come out here and actually just forget the wrestling, go out here and try to strike with this guy. Why is he going to try to strike with him? Because Malkoun isn't as big as most of the guys he's been fighting. He is generally maybe 2 inches taller. It says 5'9" for Malkoun. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt in that he's 6 foot. Finney's tiny, but if he can land on someone closer to his size, I think it's going to be a guy like Malkoun, a guy whose chin is a little suspicious. And I think Finney's going to come out here and try to get that knockout. So I'm going to say Finney in the first 2 rounds gets a knockout over Malkoun. But very well, this is going to be, I think, Finney's best performance. He has to perform here, because if he wins this fight, the UFC has no problem cutting guys, undefeated or not, never lost in the UFC. If they are putting shitty-ass performances, they will cut a guy like Finney if he comes out here and tries to grapple and just makes it a horrible fight. So give me Finney to try to prove a point against Malkoun, who in theory I think is the better fighter. I mean, black belt in jiu-jitsu, like he's more proven, beaten and fought better competition, but this is a genetic freak. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to say 66.6% of the time, he's going to beat Jacob Malkoun. Now, if you add another factor in there that Malkoun's fucking ugly, you do know that a genetic freak like Malkoun now has 78.8% chance. Do the math. Torres Finney here, Big Papa Plump, is going to come out here and knock out Malkoun in the first round. Moving on. Let's see here. We've got, is this the prelim? No, it's not the prelim main event. We've got Cam Rowston of the Battle Giraffe versus Cody Brundage. Yeah, I don't know how long I can continue talking about Cody Brundage, but we've got minus 330 on Rowston. Come back on Brundage is plus 250. If you are new to this channel, I am very much a Cody Brundage hater. Not because of anything in general other than the fact that he's a pussy and he gives up in fights. And having to tape watch him is ridiculous. The fact that when he's a big favorite and he should just go out here and beat the shit out of Eric McConaughey, you know, one of the worst middleweights in the roster, he goes out here and loses a split decision. This guy's an absolute piece of, he's untrustworthy. His best attribute is that he can milk a guy not getting his win bonus is essentially it. On occasion, and a very slight occasion, he will milk it enough for him to actually get the win bonus and another contract with the UFC. But man, is this guy just on the chopping block. I will give it to him, though. He does put on performing fights when he does get the first round knockout against a guy like Cam Rowston. Rowston, city kickboxing guy. Decent striker, good power. He already fought a guy similar to Brundage, but in my opinion, probably a better grappler in Petrovsky, just chinnier, which is sad to say because Cody himself is kind of chinny. Rowston has been working on his jiu-jitsu for the longest time. I think this is 100% a Cam Rowston victory via whatever the fuck he wants. Now, with Brundage, he is at least dangerous up until he loses confidence in himself. I've said it once, and I'll keep saying it until the end of time, until he is still with the UFC. Cody Brundage is 100% a confidence fighter. If for whatever reason he can come in here cock of the walk, he might have just gotten his dick sucked by his wife and he's feeling great. He's going to come into the ring. He's like, I got this guy. I've been training. I feel comfortable. I got a new head psychologist. I feel great about myself. And if he goes in there and for whatever reason, like Cam Rowston winks at him the wrong way, he'll be like, what did he mean by that? Does he want to have sex with me? I'm questioning my sexuality. You will see it 100% in that cage. And I saw it with McConaughey. McConaughey hit him with something. I think he dropped him. And after that, he just fought like a complete fucking idiot. And not to say that I had money on Brundage, I just find it hilarious that like he is the kind of fighter that when you expect him to do something, he will do the absolute opposite. And when you expect him to lose, he'll somehow find a way to get a guillotine on it, dude. I don't think that's going to happen here with Cam. I think Cam's way too smart for that. He's a guy that unfortunately has been going from like an underdog to now a minus 330 favorite, which is nuts. Am I saying he's, God's gift to women and fighting? No, I just think he's better than Cody Brundage here. It's going to take some miracle for Cody to win this fight, and I just don't see it happening. So give me Rowston the win in the second round. With Cody, he is dangerous in the first, but all it's going to take is Rowston to land a glancing counter left hook or counter shot or a nice little lead back jab to kind of get Brundage out of his face. And if that hurts Brundage like enough for him to get stung, you're going to see Brundage completely like lose his shit. This is a guy who lost a wrestling match to Sidikris Dumas, and his coaches had to tell him, get in the game, Cody. Sidikris is, Jesus, the only time Sidikris wins a grappling match is when he's grappling the cops off of him. Cam Rowston wins this fight, second round TKO. God bless me if he gets it in the first round. Next bout, we've got Junior Tafa versus Billy Elekana. Difficult fight for the reason is with Junior Tafa, look, man, this is another guy who lost to the biggest bum on the fucking roster in Tuco Tokos. Now, we can take a look at that and automatically fade him against Billy Elekana, but why isn't Billy minus 500? Why isn't he minus 1,000? Billy, look, on paper, he's way better than Junior. He's a better wrestler, better grappler, not necessarily a better, faster striker. He can get hurt. He can, flop. And in the past, I've seen him kind of gas. Now, I'm not using the example in his UFC debut on short notice against Bogdan Guskov. That was an anomaly. Like, he did well early, but Guskov has a way to like break you. And on top of that, his gas tank wasn't where it needed to be. But there was moments against that loser guy that he fought, Kevin Christian, where I'm like, why is he having too much success against Billy? And it's often like that. Billy's not a reliable hand, I will say. But if he does get his grappling going, he should run through Junior Tafa. He's a much better grappler than Tuco Tokos. He would go through Tuco Tokos, but Junior, the improvements have been evident. Like, he's a big, strong guy, former heavyweight, very heavy hands, very fast striker. But the grappling is absolute dog shit. There's no chance that I'm going to touch this fight. But by default, give me Elekana to get a submission in the first 2 rounds over Junior Tafa. Tafa is notoriously shit at the grappling. Is his get-up game getting better? Yes, but he still lost to Tuco Tokos, for God's sakes. His best shot is, and there is a good shot here at plus 180, that he comes out here and knocks out Billy. Now, again, like, not all fighters are created equal. Tuco, at the very least, had the wherewithal to present the weapons of, I got nothing for you other than the grappling, which did make Junior a little bit hesitant to kind of get in there and finish him off. But with Billy, he's a decent enough striker to actually have success against Junior, that Junior might feel a little bit more inclined to like take more risks against Billy Elekana, that if he does get dropped, that he can probably finish Billy off of on the ground. That is, if Billy gets dropped, Junior will come in there and try to finish him. Maybe not as like hesitant as he was with Tuco, because again, Tuco's like, all I want to do is grapple you, get close to me for the love of God. Where Billy is like, he's more of a well-rounded fighter. So this is not a like Junior Tafa fade. It's just logic here. You know what I'm saying? Like, with logic, you have to take everything into consideration. Does Junior Tafa have a doghouse? If he doesn't have a doghouse, odds are he's probably a homosexual. Billy Elekana, son of Susie, second round submission. I'm going to say rear naked choke. He's got a very solid back take as well, so that's the thing you got to take advantage of. So just to add more to it, Billy's grappling is solid. If he can take the back of Guskov, and that's his go-to move, is taking the back and kind of controlling, he's going to do the same to Tafa and choke him the fuck out. But again, with Tafa, this is not, again, like, he's not utter shit like his brother. He's a little bit better, but man, like, you look at him training with the guys he's been training with his wrestling, and then I'm like, oh wow, he's training with these bigger dudes to work on his wrestling. I'm like, oh no, wait, that was for the Tukos fight. So how how good was that? What good did it do him? So yeah, give me Elekana with the doghouse to beat him in the second round with the submission. Now, main card opener here, we've got Quillan Sallkild versus Jamie Mullarkey, an all-Australia battle between two guys wanting to beat the shit out of each other, man. One with a beautiful mustache, one with no eyebrows. Plus 500 for Jamie Mullarkey. Seems tempting. He's 31 years old versus a 26-year-old Baker in Sallkild, who is minus 850. I had to get in close to look at it. Sallkild right now is on a tear. Like, he is very, very good. Now, I will say, I thought in his last fight, he was going to have some issues with Nasrat. Nasrat is just a very, very good in and out striker, nuclear left hand. And Sallkild did not look absolutely great up until he knocked him out with that head kick. To be honest with you, that head kick did not even look like it landed clean because he got blocked partially with the glove, and he still knocked him the hell out. Jamie's a good striker. He's got good boxing. He has a good game to mix things up. I just think Quillen's way better than him at this point. Like, he's just shown it. He's shown the ability to have the one-punch knockout power. He's shown the ability to grapple and take dudes down. And this guy, again, you look at his fights with what the hell's his name? Dong Long Ma or whatever? Always Street Buddha, whatever. You see his fights with Street Buddha, and you see him in pretty shitty situations and positions. He's able to reverse them and get his own submissions. This is going to be the most epic of letdowns if Quillan Sallkild demonstrates that his boxing ability isn't quite to the level to beat a guy like Jamie Mullarkey. The thing is, he's already proven it against Gage Young, who's got some solid boxing. Maybe not as clean as Mullarkey, but let me tell you, if Mullarkey doesn't knock out Quillan Sallkild with his boxing, then Quillen's going to beat the shit out of him. I expect Quillen to use every facet of his body to hurt Jamie, and Jamie's chin, unfortunately, has just not been the same. And realistically, man, a guy like Bedoya, I expected him to have way more success, but it just unfortunately proved to us that Bedoya is an absolute bum. I really had high hopes for this kid. I thought his output was good. I thought he had some good power, good chin, but he just could not put it together. A guy like Sallkild, he's going to have no problem beating a guy like Jamie Mullarkey. So give me Sallkild to get an epic knockout over Mullarkey. And I'll say this about Jamie. Like, he doesn't get starched with one punch. He gets rocked badly. And in those situations, the follow-up and his posturing and his movement just call it quits for him. So if Sallkild can put him out cold, where he's just like biting on his mouthpiece and trying to breathe while he's looking at the heavens, that's going to be even more impressive for Sallkild. This kid has just been on an absolute tear, and I'm just curious to see where he's going to be if they give him like a guy like a Michael Johnson, right? Like, make him the minority killer. He's just been going through all these people. So now he's, I guess, what would we call Jamie Mullarkey? Like, he's a ginger. He's a soulless ginger. So yeah, we can add him to the group of minorities. He's beaten an Indian. He's beaten a guy from Israel who's not actually Israeli. He's beaten a guy from Iran or Afghanistan, I believe, in Hasperast. Now Mullarkey, a guy made of complete baloney and has no soul and is a ginger. And then Michael Johnson, who is an American black fellow. So let's go Sallkild round number 1 knockout. I think with Sallkild's ability to actually land weird shit, like him landing that head kick was unexpected enough for me that I think he can land something crazy here. Like an elbow up close and tight. Like with Mullarkey, he likes to leap in, like throw that leaping left hook. I think that's a really good situation where Sallkild can actually meet him with an elbow and just crack him bad. So give me Sallkild to win this one by knockout in the first round. Next bout, we've got Tai Tuivasa versus Tallison Teixeira. Now, let me specify some things because I have a lot to say about this fight. Look, Tai Tuivasa is on a 5-fight losing streak. He's plus 240 against Tallison Teixeira, a guy who lost to, and this is a bad look. He's minus 300, and he just lost to Derek Lewis. Let me give some credibility to that loss. Look, Tallison Teixeira showed that he was just too inexperienced for a guy like Derek Lewis. I was incredibly confident in the last fight where Costa was going to knock out Lewis. Not only did I get a perfect like main card on Tapology for that card 324, I predicted the round number 2 I was so confident in that I even threatened to shave my fucking head if that didn't happen. But I'm like, yeah, it's retarded. But in this fight against Tallison and Black Beast, I think Tallison was on his way to beating the shit out of Black Beast. He just made the crucial mistake of letting his guard down. Because when Black Beast kind of starts looping his punches, he got cracked, and it's a very good learning lesson. He didn't get finished. You know, he did get up, grabbing the cage. It is what it is. Like, he made a big mistake there. Now, what I will say is that the reason I was confident in Tallison in that fight is because Derek Lewis kind of sucks. Like, we just saw it. Like, it's irrefutable that this guy, he literally got knocked out via a vinyl chicken ad on the canvas. He slipped on it, and that was it. Like, he didn't do anything. Like, it was fucking embarrassing. And it's hard to see because I love Derek Lewis. He just doesn't have it in him anymore. For Tai Tuivasa, for the very, very minimum for him, you can say he doesn't have it either, but he is way tougher and will put up more of a fight than the Black Beast. The fact that Black Beast knocked out Teixeira is a little disappointing, but I do think this is a much tougher fight for Teixeira, where if he's not minding his P's and Q's, the same fate could fall upon him where Tai says, fuck it, I need to win, and he starts winging punches, and he might crack Teixeira. Teixeira's kind of shitty in the pocket, but the thing with Teixeira is, like, you don't give him the opportunity to get into the pocket. He's a big dude. He's got to use that big frame of his, 6'7", stay on the outside with punches and kicks. He's going to have a significant 8-inch reach advantage over Tuivasa. Now, the leg kicks for Tuivasa are going to be there. But here's the thing when it comes down to it. If Teixeira, this is like my last chance with him, right? I want to see what he can do. I know he's capable of more than just getting clipped and dropped. This guy has solid enough distance gauging and decent enough fight IQ. He can get it to the ground. And if he can get it to the ground against Tuivasa, I think he can dominate him there. I want to see the fight IQ because given that frame, he can go far in this heavyweight division. And look, Tuivasa, the best thing that he's got going for him is his toughness. But is he still within his rights to say that he's a UFC fighter? Does he still have it in him? I don't know. I can guarantee you he's going to try to win this fight. Die or trying, right? He's going to die trying to win this fight. This is his hometown. These are his people. So taking the money line on Tai Tuivasa is absolutely the way to go. But for prediction-wise, if Tallison Teixeira comes out here intelligent, not only do I think he can finish him in a multitude of different ways, I think the smartest thing he can do is win this fight via decision, meaning don't let the finish, don't materialize the finish, let the finish materialize itself, meaning keep him at distance with a jab, kick him from afar, throw head kicks, teeps up the middle, let him fucking take you down, show off your jiu-jitsu, do what you can, and then ultimately just use your size after he's tired to take him down, like sweep the leg, get on top of him, control the wrist as you're punching him and try to work yourself to the back and choke him out. Like, he has trouble with big dudes. We saw it against Volkov. I just want to see what Tallison can do. So I'm going to give him the chance. I'm going to take him by decision here, despite the fact that I think he can finish Tai Tuivasa. I just don't think his heart is in it. It doesn't matter, though, if his heart's in it or not. Like, his dick and balls are trying to win him this fight alone. And if his chin does not give him any issues in this fight, meaning a long right hand or a long straight from Teixeira that puts him down, he's going to bite on that mouthpiece and try to win you some money. And more so, it's a pride thing for Tuivasa, so you can at least feel comfortable knowing that he's going to try his damnedest to try to win money for you. So I would suggest, if you've got some change, put it on Tuivasa to try to come out here and beat Tallison. I think he's not proven yet, but this might be the situation where he does get proven. But because we haven't seen it or experienced it, the hope of winning money on Tuivasa is there. So why the fuck not? But give me Teixeira to come out here and have a very measured performance, learning from the lessons from the last fight, because this is a much more difficult fighter than Black Beast. I thought truly, and I still think, you give him Black Beast again, you let them actually play it out where Jason Herzog allows him to continue after he gets up. He's like, fine, fuck it, let's restart the fight. He would beat the shit out of Black Beast. He's just like, don't let him get close to me, kick him from the outside, and then work my way once I actually have him hurt. Like, he will hurt himself trying to get in close. I think that's going to be the same game plan. take a note from Acosta, Tallison. Be very mindful at distance. So moving on here, we've got a great fucking fight. Rafael Fiziev versus Mauricio Ruffy. A lot to say about this fight. Like, I love both these guys. I think Fiziev is like one of the most underrated comedic guys in the UFC. Talented as shit when it comes to the striking. Plus 100. The line did switch, where it used to be Ruffy was the plus money, but now he's minus 125. And the reason for it, I think it's the athleticism and the hope of change for Ruffy. In his last fight, let's be clear, I was so confident in Ruffy that he was going to beat Benoit St Denis that unfortunately, I think Ruffy was a little too confident in himself that he was going to knock him out with one shot. That's all he tried to do. There was moments in that fight against Benoit, and I cannot wait to talk about that next fight against Benoit, that like he could have done damage from the top position. He actually swept Benoit, and he could have landed some significant damage on him, but he chose to let him up because I truly think he just actually wanted to hurt him on the feet. But on the feet, there was no space for him to work because he just didn't know how to like create it with a fucking zombie that is Benoit. For Fiziev, I think between the two, he's the more proven of the two commodities, right? Like, he's fought the better competition. Only losses are to Gamrot and to the current interim lightweight champion, Justin Gaethje, where there's no loss. Now, I will say in that my last prediction, I was a little hesitant with like saying, oh, I think Gaethje's going to come out here and beat his ass. But when watching the fights against Fiziev, I was like, yeah, I think Gaethje still has enough in him to come out here and like take some damage. But with, you can't really gauge Paddy so well. But with Paddy, man, when I saw that Chandler fight, I'm like, oh, this guy fucking sucks. He's not going to be able to take him down. He's not going to be able to do much. And we saw how that played out. Fiziev, though, he is a very speed-reliant fighter. And I do like the way he's been mixing up takedowns as of late. And you're going to see that. You're going to see Fiziev trying to get takedowns. Now, here's the issue with this fight as to why I think the odds have flipped and why I'm picking Ruffy. Not because I'm a ultra fan of Ruffy. I want him to continue his absolute like aura building moments. The issue with Ruffy and why I think the line flipped is he moved his camp to train with Volkanovski, and that can only do nothing but good. And I cannot wait to talk about the Volkanovski fight to kind of break it down into perspective as to how I value Volkanovski as a fighter and as a mind in MMA. Him being so close to that guy, look, he's a legend. The fact that he's still a champ and was able to recover his belt, fantastic. But a guy so talented as Ruffy, what he doesn't need is more flashy techniques. What he needs is measured approach. He needs to 100% learn at all costs that winning is more important than winning spectacularly. Because when you try to win spectacularly, that might be like a 50-50 chance. And in that 50-50 chance, you might get taken down or something happens and your chances diminish. But if you're athletic and your main objective is to win, you're landing clean shots, you're pushing your pace, staying at your distance, and being active, you've got a much higher likelihood to win a fight and just win in general. Had he tried that against Benoit, I think he would have had way more success. Not necessarily focusing on like, let me try to one-shot this dude. Excuse me. And he paid the price for it. He got his back taken. And Benoit's a guy that kind of breaks people down regardless, etc. I think the rematch would go a lot different. With this fight, though, with Ruffy, I think he needs to work on his feints, which he has. I expect a brand new version of this guy. He's still with the Fighting Nerds, but he did say, I've been training harder than I've ever trained in my life, training with Volkanovski, which what that tells me is that maybe with that athleticism and him not necessarily being put in certain positions like he has been with like Benoit, maybe he's just so athletic in the Fighting Nerds that you kind of keep what's working. Training with Volk, you're put in positions that you're not normally used to being put in. Like, he's grappling with dudes. He's implementing techniques. That scissor sweep, he's actually trying to like work it to actually get the heel hook. I think he's way more comfortable with it now, with that kind of speed and athleticism versus a guy who is 100% based off of speed and athleticism in Fiziev. I think he's going to have the more success. He's going to be the longer guy. He's going to be able to mix in his own grappling. He's going to be, I think, the faster of the two. The more accurate and active is going to be Fiziev. But the thing is, I think his chin, I'm not saying it's failing him, but I do think that it is, if these two collide, I think Fiziev's the one that's going to hit the ground. At very least, his ass is going to hit the ground, whether it knocks him out or not. But with Ruffy being so quick with the spins, Mustafayev knocked out Fiziev with the spinning back kick. I just think Ruffy is the rightful favorite, and I missed out on the plus money. The thing is, though, there's still a question mark behind him. Is he still the same dude? My overall consensus is that he's not. Like, he's definitely showing evolution. The fact that he moved out to Australia for this camp is a good sign for me. Now, it pains me because I love Fiziev. I call him Fiziev, but I love Fiziev. This guy is great. He served a purpose. It's just his knee getting destroyed by Gamrot. Him mixing in the takedowns is a big plus, and I'm excited to see if he can come out here and use that kind of a game plan against Ruffy. But I think the game plan has already been out for Fiziev. Like, he did that against Bahamundes. Now, granted, Bahamundes might look like an impressive win, and it is, but Fiziev is a short guy, and Bahamundes has always had trouble against shorter men, especially those who can grapple, and Fiziev just kind of dog-walked him. So give me Ruffy to win this one by a decision. I think he's going to demonstrate the levels that he's kind of acquired training with Volkanovski, and with that speed, athleticism, he might be able to knock him out along the way, but a more measured Ruffy is what I want to see here. A guy kind of measuring things well, landing his shots, mixing in some takedowns, just being the bigger guy, intimidating the smaller guy, despite the fact that the smaller guy is like one of the baddest dudes in the fucking planet, you know, Tiger Muay Thai coach in striking. But give me give me Ruffy to win this one via a decision. All right, next bout we've got Dan Hooker versus Benoit St Denis in a fight that has been plaguing me because, to be 100% disclosure, like, I've been seeing people on Dan Hooker, and I've been on Dan Hooker for a while. I just haven't really tweeted about it. And he's plus 260, and the minus 330 on Benoit St Denis might be tempting because we've just seen a guy similar to Benoit kind of manhandle Dan Hooker. But there's one thing that is going to be the deciding factor, and that is what was mailed to me. So can you hand me the note? Yeah, that one. Awesome. So someone sent me something in the mail. They're like, Tigerbomb MMA@gmail.com. He asked me for my address, my P.O. box. So he's like, read this in your next video. It's going to 100% clarify why Dan Hooker is going to beat Benoit St Denis. So I'm going to open it live here. It's a note here. So it says, for this fight, Dan Hooker is changing his nickname from Hangman to Bowflex. The reason? Because the name Bowflex has a higher success rate at strangling Benoit's. It's dark, maybe too soon. But in this matchup, here's the main factor. Benoit St Denis, we know about this guy. Not only does he have an unfortunate first name when it comes to those who partake in the wrestling landscape, but Benoit St Denis is basically the best walking zombie in the UFC right now. He goes forward, takes damage, and his number one goal is to get you to the ground. He will throw some shots at you, but within those shot throwing, he leaves his chin exposed, rushes his head in there, and look, man, I'm going to admit that, like, I also saw this on Twitter, but it's a thought that I had prior where, who was it? I forget the guy's name, but he's like a jiu-jitsu guy from New York, MMA guy. But he specifically also mentioned that, like, you know, Dustin Poirier had success against Benoit St Denis with the guillotine. You know, who else had success using a similar game plan? Dan Hooker versus, I think, a much better fighter in Mateusz Gamrot. You can argue till the cows come home who won that fight, but Dan Hooker definitely went out there and performed. The difference between these two men, right? Benoit St Denis oftentimes puts himself in a dogfight and in danger because he has to. Dan Hooker is putting himself in danger in like a life and death type of situation because he loves to do it. Like he thrives in those kind of fights. And you're telling me Dan Hooker plus 260 versus Benoit St Denis, a guy who, yes, he can strike, yes, he can hit hard, grappler, maybe not the greatest grappler, but a guy who will put himself in a dogfight against one of the biggest dogs with the biggest fight in him, in Dan Hooker, a guy who will fight with a broken arm, will laugh in the corner as he's bleeding. He's like, I love this shit. It's so difficult for me not to take Dan Hooker because you can say Arman Sarukian had his way with him like a $2 hooker, but that's Arman Sarukian. That's like he will destroy Benoit St Denis. We saw a guy who has good grappling, what he did to Benoit in Moicano. Moicano got him to the ground and destroyed him. And he did so much damage that he just couldn't proceed. They had to stop it in France, for God's sake. The French commission was like, he cannot continue safely. These people are going to behead me, but so be it. I think Benoit is incredibly overrated. I've been saying it for a while. Anyone who can stand up to him, anyone who has any knowledge of how to defend his style, which is he's just going to run in forward, he's going to throw those body kicks to you, and he's going to try to bum rush you, throw shots, and then go in for the takedown. If Dan Hooker's smart and he's flowing and he goes for the guillotine, he might Bowflex but Benoit again. You know what I'm saying? Like he might get a hold of that neck and call it a day. I doubt that being the case, but I do think Benoit is going to kind of avoid that because he's going to be put in danger because Dan Hooker, more success getting guillotines than Dustin Poirier. On top of that, the knees up the middle are going to be there for Dan Hooker. And if he cannot finish Hooker in those few rounds, I think Hooker's way better than people give him credit for, but he's way worse to be in the top 5. You know what I'm saying? Like he's fine where he is in number 12, top 15. He's really good. He's tough as shit. He gave Poirier a tough matchup. This guy's tough as balls. If it hits that third round and Dan Hooker's said, fuck it, it's my turn, Benoit is going to be in a shitstorm of trouble because Dan Hooker, regardless of what you think of him, he's a guy who's going to go out there and try to take your head off. And I don't think Benoit does well in situations where he's a little fatigued and there's a guy trying to knock him out. I think he panics. He goes in for the regular stuff. The knees up the middle are going to be there for Dan Hooker. This is a bit of a long shot because, yes, Benoit St Denis is a very good grappler, very good striker early. Like he is that guy who will go forward. He is the tank. But I think Dan Hooker has something that Benoit doesn't, and that is his ability to self-destruct himself. You know what I mean? Like he is the grenade that is going to try to destroy the tank that is Benoit St Denis, and Dan Hooker has no problem doing that. Gladly will do it close to his region in New Zealand and in front of the fans that are going to be there for him. It's going to be really tough to beat Dan Hooker. And if Benoit can come out here and do what people are expecting at minus 330 to come out here and like take him down and submit him, a guy who wasn't easily submitted by Arman Sarukian, an Arman Sarukian who's literally been running through a bunch of dudes grappling. I don't know if Benoit is that guy. He's got a great back take, but I think Dan Hooker's ready for that. And I think Dan Hooker's going to put on a good performance. Maybe not early. He might even get dropped and knocked out because Benoit, despite him being kind of like goofy on the feet, he does hit hard. We've seen it. But give me Dan Hooker to prolong this fight, landing kicks to the body, landing knees when Benoit's ducking in for takedowns. Benoit's done that against, I forget his name, Green Mask Stoltz, I believe. Jumped in there, got his face cut. Dan Hooker's way aware of that. He's very good with those knees. I think Dan's really live here. And I'm willing to put money where my mouth is. I'm going to put some, maybe like a unit or two on Dan Hooker just to like see what happens. Like out of my like unit reserve and just see what happens. And if it loses, it loses. But I think Dan Hooker can get this done. Now, main event here, we've got Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes 2, and I've got not much to say about this fight. It's very similar in odds, where Volkanovski is minus 155, a bit of a slight favorite. Diego Lopes plus 125, slight underdog. Let me just get everything out of the way. Lopes, is he deserving of the rematch? Yes, he did beat, in my eyes, the number one contender in Jean Silva, who proved himself again that he is very close to a title shot. I think Alexander Volkanovski got lucky that John Silva did not get that immediate shot, because it had Diego Lopes not landed that spinning back elbow. I think Volkanovski would have found himself injured, if you know what I mean. He wouldn't be taking this fight against Lopes. He's already beaten Lopes. He knows how to beat Lopes. And granted, Lopes did not look all that good against John Silva. And you might be saying, like, what the fuck do you mean? He took him down, busted him up, he finished him. That may be, but that was more of John Silva making a mistake. Now, typically when Diego Lopes gets a guy down and is in full mount, he gets rid of him. He couldn't do that to John Silva. When John Silva got out of that position, he was landing some heavy heat on him, ripping to the body, like stumbling backwards. The second round where the finish happened, look, man, John Silva was spinning around like an idiot trying to land that spinning back elbow. That gave Lopes the idea to do it himself. But in between that, I think fucking Silva was beating his ass. He was landing. He was accurate. Despite him being the shorter guy, very similar to Volk's stature, he was just so athletic and just, to me, looking like it was going to be a matter of time until he knocked out Diego Lopes. And then near the end, Silva got way too aggressive, spinning back elbow hits, and Lopes kind of gets lucky out of that one. Let's just be real here. That's my opinion, that Lopes looked good, but he also looked kind of like, ooh, this is not the guy that I think is going to beat Volkanovski for the title. The good news for him is he's already been in there with Volkanovski, and he knows what to expect. He knows how good Volkanovski is, because Volkanovski, as I was mentioning earlier, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the GOATs in that division, if not the GOAT of featherweight, winning his belt again at his age, 37 years old. And to me, he's probably one of the best minds for MMA. And the fact that he came from rugby is just maddening. His feint game, his low kick game, his distance management, the fact that he is incredibly difficult to submit, his get-up game. This guy is quite possibly like top level fighter of all time, one of the top level fighters of all time, but Father Time comes for us all. Now, with Diego Lopes, he's going to come out here, and he needs to come out here with a point to prove, and that is he left way too much in the gas tank in the first fight. He was way too respectful for Volkanovski. He allowed Volkanovski to play his game, and Diego never really got his going. And what Diego does best is create chaos, and in that chaos, he creates openings, and in those openings, he knocks motherfuckers out and submits them. Against Volkanovski, he has to not respect the man. He's felt Volkanovski's power, and he got stumbled a few times. Not too bad, but he didn't like the punches he was eating. In this fight, he has to move forward. He has to go out there and create the chaos to knock out Volkanovski. Because when he would land on Volk, he would hurt him, he would drop him, but he would just give him too much respect. And if he knows better, he has to come out here and say, fuck it, I'm going out there and creating an absolute war, because I can take his shots, but he is sure as fuck cannot take mine. So, look, do I think Volkanovski still has the ability to win this fight? Absolutely. He still has the intelligence, the IQ, enough speed, and the overall striking game is much better than Lopez's. The problem being that if Lopes connects with him flush early, and he's no longer afraid or giving Volkanovski too much respect or letting the moment get the better of him, that is, I think Lopes can come out here and demonstrate why he got the title shot, creating chaos, landing big shots, and knocking out Volkanovski. And I'm expecting that to happen. I expect him to come out here in the first two rounds, put on a pace, try to hurt Volkanovski early, and then if he can't get him out of there in the first round, get him out of there in the second round. Because you're not going to beat Volkanovski in a decision unless you're like dominating him on the mat, and that's going to be really difficult to do, right? Because Volk is excellent. Like anytime Volk isn't getting hit in the head, meaning that he's on the ground defending, is more time Volkanovski's not getting knocked out. So avoid any sort of issues where you're trying to take down Volk unless you have to, and try to knock his head out. and I think that's what he's going to come out here and do. I think he's going to learn from his past mistakes. Do I think Diego Lopes is like the best fighter in the division? No, I don't think that. But do I think that Volkanovski is going to keep his belt? I don't think so either. Because if this was John Silva, Volkanovski is retiring. In this fight, I think there's a chance that, of course, Volkanovski still wins. We saw him do it in the first time. It's all dependent on Diego Lopes. There's possibilities for hesitancy here. John Silva, zero hesitancy. He will surf on your fucking forehead. With that, I would give Volk 100% chance of retiring. With Diego, about 60%, depending on how this fight plays out. It's all dependent on Diego and his, quite frankly, being a pussy or not. Don't be a pussy, you win. You be a pussy, you lose. So give me Lopes second round knockout. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How do you feel about this main event? How do you feel about the card for Paramount Plus? Did you enjoy it? For me, it was a little 50-50. Kind of annoyed the shit out of me because there was too many damn commercials. And with those commercials, it actually like froze on me a few times. So hopefully they get that ironed out. But again, Johnny Tigerbomb, I will see you next week.